Hello, it's me, Tara, the Mudcreek Stitcher and Fixing Hair. I am back for the final Bible study. I was going to say floss tube, but that's not right. The final Bible study. We have been doing this since, February? Into February, and should have been done in 6 weeks, but I've only been doing, on average, a Bible study once a week, sometimes not even that. So it's taking me a while to get through it. But if you have stuck it out this long, may the good Lord bless you, because you deserve it from listening to me ramble on. And if you're still continuing to listen to me, I am amazed. I think I'm annoying, so bless you, bless you, bless you. I hope you had a wonderful Christmas. It is December 28th. It's already 3 days after Christmas. Where does time go? I just heard someone say that when I was at physical therapy for my pinched nerve. Just where did the time go? I don't know. It went really, really fast. It always does. Just quick update. My kids did make it home. We were in a blizzard warning, and so everybody got here before the blizzard began, and we were supposed to get like over a foot of snow, but I don't think we got that. We probably got 6 inches, but it's blown all over the place. So you got spots with no snow, and then you got spots with 3-foot drifts, and that's kind of how it is here in Nebraska, where it just blows and it's windy. Yeah, it's windy. So had a wonderful Christmas, and I'll talk more about it. I am trying to, after this, I'm going to work a little bit on quilting, because I seriously want to get this started, The Silent Night by the Pattern Basket. I know this is not floss tube, but just telling you what I'm doing. So I want to get going, start cutting out, see if I could start figuring out the blocks and how they're going to work. And then I want to sit down and figure out what in the world am I doing next year for cross stitch. I have so many whips now compared to last year. Last year I think I had 3 projects to work on, and now I'm just like, I don't even know how many. So I'm going to be working on that after the Bible study and some quilting time. All right, so anyways, I hope all is well. I hope your health is well. I hope your family is well. I hope if you've not had Christmas yet and you're waiting for the future, New Year's, some people I know do it in January, February. I hope it's wonderful and a great celebration. No matter what, we're celebrating Jesus, the ultimate gift. And if you have stuck with me this long, you know he is the ultimate gift. All right, last lesson. Day 5, Earth, Wind, and Fire. This is week 6, day 5, and I'm on page 210. And here we go, the last lesson. Behold, the Lord was passing by. 1 Kings chapter 19, verse 11b. Many years ago, one of my mentors in the faith said something to me that I've never forgotten and has shaped my perspective for many years. Priscilla, in your walk with the Lord, sometimes the greatest hindrance to a new move of God in your life can simply be an unhealthy preoccupation with the previous move of God in your life. Right here at the beginning of your time with the Lord today, consider the statement you just read. What does it mean to you? So let me read it again. In your walk with the Lord, sometimes the greatest hindrance to a new move of God in your life can simply be an unhealthy preoccupation with a previous move of God in your life. I don't know really what that means. Maybe you do and could answer it. Unhealthy preoccupation with a previous move of God. I don't know. A previous move. Okay, I don't know. You think about that. Let me know. This precious woman's loving and gentle warning was clear. Sometimes we box God into the way he's done things in the past, and we presume he will always act or respond in the same way in the future. In doing so, however, we run an almost certain risk that we will miss seeing how God is moving in our lives today, right now, even as we embark on this final day of Bible study together. For while God's character is sure and unchanging, his methods are at his divine disposal. Therefore, we must keep our spiritual senses continually and progressively sharpened by his Spirit, so we remain open and ready to experience him in the way he wants. Our prior expectations and limited perspective do not place any boundaries around the way he chooses to work out his purposes, but they could limit our ability to perceive and relate to them, and we surely don't want to do that. We arrive now at this culminating message from Elijah's encounter with Yahweh on Mount Sinai, also known as Horeb. It comes with heartfelt encouragement, but also with a course correction against this tendency for trying to make the work of God formulaic and predictable. I didn't know that was a word. I hope we'll emerge stirred with holy anticipation for what God has prepared for our lives in the weeks, months, and years to come. Yesterday, or a week and a half ago, we read 1 Kings chapter 19, verses 11 through 21, which I do believe I almost have it on the right page in its entirety. Reread just the portion printed below, zeroing in on the various elements of nature that Elijah encountered on the mountain. Circle each one. Okay, so here it is. God said, "Go forth and stand on the mountain before the Lord." And behold, the Lord was passing by, and a great strong wind was rending the mountains and breaking in pieces the rocks before the Lord. But the Lord was not in the wind, and after the wind was an earthquake. But the Lord was not in the earthquake, and after the earthquake, a fire. But the Lord was not in the fire, and after the fire, a sound of gentle blowing. When Elijah heard it, he wrapped his face in his mantle and went out to stand in the entrance of the cave. So record the progression of Elijah's experience. The Lord was not in the wind, strong wind. He was not in the strong wind. He was not in the earthquake. And he was not in the fire. The verses below chronicle other Old Testament instances when Yahweh had used similar elements to demonstrate his presence and power. Grab your Bible, look up each passage. For each one, select the corresponding letter from the list of natural elements that corresponds to each reference. Some will be used more than once. Wind, cloud, fire. Wind, cloud, fire. Okay, so go to Exodus chapter 3. It's the second book of the Bible, thank goodness, because I actually remember that. Chapter 3, verses 2 through 3. There the angel of the Lord appeared to him in a blazing fire from the middle of a bush. Moses stared in amazement. Though the bush was engulfed in flames, it didn't burn up. "This is amazing," Moses said to himself. "Why isn't that bush burning up? I must go see it." So that is fire. So that would be C, letter C, because it goes A, B, C. And you're supposed to write the letter right. Exodus chapter 10, verse 13. I am flipping, still flipping. Pages are stuck together. And back. So Moses raised his staff over Egypt, and the Lord caused an east wind to blow over the land all that day and through the night. When morning arrived, the east wind had brought the locusts. So that one is A for wind. Exodus 13:22. Flipping. 13:22, it says, "And the Lord did not remove the pillar of cloud or pillar of fire from its place in front of the people." So cloud and fire, B and C. And Exodus 19:9, flipping, 19:9, I'm almost there. "Then the Lord said to Moses, I will come to you in a thick cloud, Moses, so the people themselves can hear me when I speak with you, and they will always trust you." So cloud, B. And now 1 Kings chapter 18, verse 38. "Immediately the fire of the Lord flashed down." Oh, sorry, not flushed. Whoosh, no, flashed. Got it. Flashed down from heaven and burned up the young bull, the wood, the stones, the dust, even licked up all the water in the trench. And that was a big fire. Okay? All right, got that. The second graders asked, "Why do you always lick your fingers to turn the page?" I'm like, "Because it's stuck." And they're like, "Huh?" You'll get it when you're older. Page 212. It's easy to hastily assume that a repeated event, a familiar emotional response, or a recognizable chain of incidents is a sure sign of God's presence and approval. Our human tendency is to respond to what we recognize while discounting what we've never experienced. With things of God, we must stay discerning and prayerful, seeking the Spirit's insight and the Scripture's confirmation on every occasion. We don't want to lazily interpret the most commonly expected things as always being holy things. Sometimes, in fact, the Lord will allow us to walk through the wilderness for this purpose alone, to cleanse our spiritual palate, pique our spiritual senses, and compel us to seek Him with fresh interest and passion, to stay open to what He's doing now or doing next. So think back to a genuine encounter you've had with God. Is there any way you've inadvertently allowed that moment to become the prototype for how you assume He will move in the future every time? So, is there a way you had a direct encounter with God that you're like, that's God, that is God talking to me? And have you become stuck there and assume He'll always do that? So I did think of something finally. I had a dream that I know for a fact that God gave me. I feel like I've talked about this before. I don't know. I'm not going to go back and look at all those videos to figure it out, but I'll just retell the dream. So I had this dream, gosh, so my little niece is 8 years old. So it was 8 years ago because she was just born. Had this dream that it was the end times. So if you don't know, I'm very much into the end times. The book of Revelation is like one of my most favorite books ever in the Bible. Very excited about it. I love reading Ezekiel and Daniel and Psalms and looking at all the connections. And anyways, okay. So 8 years ago is when I was really starting to understand, oh wow, the Bible tells the future. The Bible tells the things that are going to happen. And I was really studying like the end times and all the things that'll happen, you know, the earthquakes, people going nuts, the tribulation time and all that stuff, right? Okay. So anyways, back to my dream. So I had a dream in the midst of all this, and my niece had just been born. She was only about a month old. Maybe not even that. So anyways, had this dream. It was summertime. And in the dream, I was in a building, in an apartment, which I'm not an apartment in regular life, but I was in an apartment. I was looking out the window and I could see the chaos down below, the earthquakes. I could see the volcanoes exploding. I could see people running and screaming and trying to escape and all that stuff. And I just felt so calm in that dream. I just remember that. I'm just super calm. And so anyways, I turn, I see my family, and I can see that the apartment building is split and it's starting to split in half. So it was time for me to go. My family was safe and they were already leaving. So I got into my car. I don't know why, but suddenly I'm in my car. You know what dreams are. And I drove back to my hometown where I grew up and saw this house in my childhood was always green. And it was green. And it was into this house that I pulled into. And when I got into the house, I saw a family that I knew very well preparing for end times. And they were all saved. They were all believers. And they were like, hi, Tara. I'm like, hi, what are you guys doing? Well, we're preparing for end times. We're preparing. We're ready to go. I'm like, that's great. And as I walk through this house, suddenly it gets bigger and bigger and these tall pillars. And I follow my friend who says, you know, come with me. And leads me into this room and holds up this picture. I mean, I could still see it to this day, of my sister-in-law. And she said, she's so happy, but she is so sad. And I woke up and I was bawling. I was absolutely just, you know, have you had dreams like that? I used to have them when I was younger, especially when my kids were born. So I was like, what in the world? It was 4:15 in the morning. And I felt that nudge from God that said, you need to text her. I'm like, it's 4:15 in the morning. She's like, you need to text her. So I text her. And I'm like, I'm really sorry to ask this, but do you believe that Jesus is real? Do you believe that he's the savior of the world and that he loves you? And I remember what all I wrote. And so, as you know, and I know, it is hard to talk to your own family members about Christ if you're not sure, right? It is. It's hard. I don't know why. It should not be. But I think the fear of division and losing them in our life. But of course, Jesus said that's going to happen. So anyways, I was so upset. Told my husband she's going to hate me. Blah, blah, blah. So anyways, went for a walk. Just still like, Lord, I hope you know what you're doing. lack of trust. And so anyways, on my walk, I got a text back from her, and it pretty much said, "Oh, Tara, how did you know? I am so happy, but I am so sad." The exact words that my friend said in the dream. So after that happened, I thought, well, that must be how God's always going to talk to me, is through dreams. But no, it's not. So I think that can happen. I met another lady, and maybe some of you experienced it. Another lady, she's a nurse, and she'd also had one dream, not like mine, but about the white throne judgment. And her story is very powerful. But I'm not going to share that because who knows? You may run into her, and I want her to share her story. But anyways, I have found, I assume that's how God would always just talk to me through a dream. Nope, that was it. That was pretty much it. There was one more dream I had years later, but I don't think I was supposed to really do much, but I was trying to do stuff. I don't know. I can't explain it. But anyways, God has done everything after that time a total different way. So I got stuck in that prototype of the dream. Okay. So that's something to watch out for. If he has done something amazing for you in some way, you can get stuck, like she said, thinking that's how it's always going to happen. Nope, because it's God. It's about his glory and not ours. How has your takeaway from that experience caused you to become limited in your spiritual life? Well, I think I kind of said that. I just expect always to have another dream. Nope. Actually, got to keep doing stuff and keep working for the Lord. Beloved sister, as you walk forward in your journey with the Lord, remember that his presence is not always characterized as something that thrills us, an emotional reaction that startles us, a big, bold event that awakens us, a flashy circumstance that wows us, or an eye-opening occurrence that surprises us. Just because it's extraordinary, just because it's cut from the earthquake, hurricane, or wildfire variety, doesn't automatically mean it's him at work. Just because it's hyper doesn't mean it's holy. This misconception will inevitably blind us to the occasion when his authentic activity is in the sound of gentle blowing. So look at the beautiful ways that Elijah's experience with God on Mount Sinai is rendered in different translations. In the ESV, it's a low whisper. In the NRSV, it's sheer silence. In the NASB, it's a gentle blowing. The KJV, a still small voice. And the CSB, a soft whisper. So how did Elijah respond when he heard it in verse 13? He said, when Elijah heard it, he wrapped his face in his cloak and went out and stood at the entrance of the cave. So the contrast between the earthquake, the tumultuous wind, the searing fire, the hushed holy whisper of God is striking. The first three were loud and attention-getting. The last one was nearly imperceptible. But the contrast is symbolic of what God appeared to be doing in his continued work with the nation of Israel. As the stormy, volatile ministry of Elijah moved toward its conclusion, the relatively gentle ministry of his protege, Elisha, was soon to dawn. It was time for a stiller, smaller voice. Detecting God's presence in these quieter ways requires patience and a keen spiritual ear, the kind he's been developing in you throughout every day of your Bible study together. And this sensitivity will continue to develop in you as you keep walking with him and growing in grace. His voice will draw you out of the caves of despair, disillusionment, and discouragement, and will usher you into a freedom and newfound reverence for him. A renewed, hopeful outlook for the future based on the certainty of his work, of course, but not necessarily the same look and feel as you've been accustomed to equating with him. Remain open to this. The stillness of God's manifest presence drew Elijah to his feet, wrapped his cloak over his face in reverence, and came out to stand at the mouth of the cave. Then God spoke to him, giving him a new assignment and a role in his divine purposes for the future. Page 214. Turn to 1 Kings 19:15 through 6, Wade through all the names there and boil it down to the 3 major directives that Yahweh gave Elijah. Lord told him, "Go back the same way you came and travel to the wilderness of Damascus. When you arrive there, anoint Hazael to be king of Aram. Then anoint the town of Abel Meholah to replace you as my..." Then anoint... I skipped a whole line. Can I start over? Redo. Verse 15. Then the Lord told him, "Go back the same way you came and travel to the wilderness of Damascus. When you arrive there, anoint Hazael to be king of Aram. Then anoint Jehu, not a town, grandson of Nimshi, to be king of Israel. And anoint Elisha, son of Shaphat, from the town of Abel Meholah, to replace you as my prophet." Okay, that makes way more sense. So he's supposed to anoint who as king? Hazael. I don't know if I'm saying it right, but I'm going to say Hazael. It could be Haziel. I don't know. Hazel. No, I don't know. Probably not. And then anoint who as king over Israel. Then that's where I struggled. It's Jehu. And then Elisha is to be the new prophet. The beautiful lesson surging underneath this moment in Elijah's life, hearing the Lord speak to him in the sheer silence, is that God beckoned him to a new calling and method of ministry. This means Elijah's despondency had not disqualified him from being a key player in the goal of calling Israel back to allegiance to Yahweh. He was still part of God's purpose, and hallelujah, so are you, and so am I. That's what she said, not me, her. National revival had always been Elijah's divinely assigned objective. But the prophet had been pursuing this goal from one specific angle, the one in which his efforts alone accomplished the goal. He'd been obedient in his actions, but his presumption became the direct catalyst for his deep discouragement. He felt like he failed. But now God speaks again here on Mount Horeb, which is Mount Sinai, clarifying to Elijah that despite his disappointment, he still has a key role to play. He was to anoint a specific new king over Aram, also known as Syria, as well as a specific new king over Israel. It was also to formally pass the baton to a new man who would carry on the prophetic mantle that Elijah had carried so diligently and faithfully. The combined efforts of these individuals would be strategic in bringing Ahab and Jezebel's rule to a sure end and spurring Israel toward the unhindered worship of Yahweh that had been redeemed to enjoy. God's work would still be done. It just wouldn't all be done by Elijah. His prophetic assignment was not yet over, but it was now time, in God's time, for his ministry to be redirected. And in this wilderness and in that still small voice, God was telling Elijah that he continued to be significant to the Lord's divine purposes. Page 215. Sister, you are still significant to the fulfillment of God's plan. No matter your age, your demographic, your temperament, or your previous disappointments. The breath filling your lungs right now is an indicator that he still considers you a necessary part of what he's advancing and accomplishing on the earth. There's nothing, and I do mean nothing, that has rendered you useless or expendable to him. Just don't let your expectations about how your part is supposed to look or how God will reveal it to you discourage you from being yielded and available for what he's asking you to do right now. Modern day Elijah, be faithful. Don't give up. And there's work to be done. He's whispering to you even now. He's giving you a new direction, new insight, fresh encouragement. He's reminding you that he still has a divine plan with generational implications. And this plan involves you running full speed ahead, even if it takes you down a path you weren't anticipating. Then passing the baton of faith along to others who will run alongside you as well as beyond you. This too is the legacy of Elijah. Not just fire, not just Mount Carmel. Elijah's legacy includes this much needed reminder that less flashy work is no less God's work, and that the later days of one's life and ministry can still be fruitful, effective, important, valuable parts of what God's done in this generation. Well, it can still be done, but needs to be done. Elijah's story is God's story, just as your story and my story are God's story. The process he takes us through, as well as the pinnacles he takes us to show us, he doesn't want us left out of the mission he's working to accomplish. He's always getting us ready for what's next, and there's always something next, something here, something now he's preparing you to do. Through the growing times, through the waiting times, through the up times, even through the down times. These are our times. This is your time. Shh, listen. The Lord is passing by. I love it. And that's the end. Now, if I actually had the video, you would watch the last part on a video. But I don't think you need it because that was a really good ending. That was something way back when I started reading the Bible through the year or whatever, it was just like, God, I just remember, God, why don't you just shout at me and tell me what I'm supposed to do? Why can't you just directly talk to me? And then when I read this about Elijah and like there was the strong wind that smashed rocks and the earthquake and the fire and all that stuff, I was kind of like, ugh, I don't think you want God to talk directly to you like that. And then the whisper. So it's like he even talked to Elijah with a whisper. So I was like, okay, time to pay attention to that whisper. It's not easy, but it's important. It's time to pay attention to the whisper because he'll tell you what to do. So have a wonderful new year. I should get this out tonight or tomorrow, the video. And I'm going to start figuring out my quilting. And I'm going to figure out what in the world I'm doing for cross stitch next year. I would like a plan. I know I don't follow plans well. Last year, we know how that went. Chaos. So anyways, have a blessed new year. I hope you're with family and friends, or I hope you get to stitch. Even better, I hope you get to stitch with family and friends. And if not, oh well, stitch. So, God bless, and I will see you next time. See you later.